Started this special coverage of what has come to be known as off-cycle elections, with our team of reporters engaging the electorate in a town hall meeting and analysts. The reason for this off-cycle elections in Ondo has been engaging our attention, so also to the situation on ground and the readiness of the election management body, with our correspondents at various strategic locations across the state. We set out to bring you a comprehensive account of the day's event. I am Cyril Stover. Welcome to the Ondo State Decide studio as we assess the election. Well, I will have with me here in the studio Professor Adeni, who is Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Bayes University, Abuja. Prof, good to have you join us.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, I did say to you that our correspondents at various locations in Ondo State, strategic positions, will be speaking with them. I know, for instance, that Fisayo Ogunfui and Nnamdi Odiko are in Ondo State. They're leading the team of correspondents and all those who will be sending in details of what's happening. We also have Ayo Ogunshaki, who is on location in Ondo State. So let's go straight to Ayo Ogunshaki and find out just how things are. Good morning, Ayo. How is it today, election day?
And the atmosphere is cool and calm. This is the day. This is the day the people of Ondo State have been waiting for, to cast their ballots for the candidate of their choice, and of course, to elect one of the 18 governorship candidates to occupy the seat of power at Alagbaka in Akure, the Ondo State capital. Like I said, the atmosphere here is cool and calm, and the officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission are fully on ground, while electorates are equally standing by to cast their ballots for their choice candidates. Here at Obaile Ward, Araromi polling units, about 1,028 eligible voters are expected to exercise their franchise at this ongoing exercise. Presence of security personnel are equally noticeable to ensure orderliness in the course of this conduct of election. And I must tell you, one thing that really amazed me is this election process. Is before the conduct, before the commencement of the election, the electoral officer need to orientate or educate the voters of the process, and they let them realize that what they should do, the do's and don'ts of this election conduct. And another thing, there's special arrangements at this election in which there are special queues for the aged, special queues for the nursing mothers or pregnant women and people with disabilities. So the arrangements are perfectly made in such a way that there will be a peaceful conduct of this governorship election exercise.
Ayo, as events unfold, we'll be coming to you at regular intervals so you can update us on how the elections are going and how things are generally. So we know we'll be with you throughout today. I'm sure you will show us other parts, other locations, and you link up with our other correspondents. So hang in there. We'll be with you for the rest of the day. And thank you, at least for now, bringing us up to speed on what's happening. For that, with the initial comments, we'll be back. Well, in our Ondo Decide studio, we also have a number of guests. We'll be interacting with them as we go on. We'll be joined by, yes, there they are, Professor Adedayo Afe of the Department of History and International Studies of Adekunle Ajasin University, Akungba Akoko, is there with us. And we also have Franklin Oloniju, who is Chairman Civil Society Organizations. They are right there in our Ondo studios in Akure, and they also will be part of the entire coverage as we bring to you the elections, who would be governor in Ondo State. Thank you very much for being with us. Gentlemen, would you like to make a few comments before we get started? Let's start off with Professor Adedayo Afe.
Uncle Siri, and I want to tell Nigerians that Ondo people, they are ready to act in an orderly manner. And we drove down for almost 3 kilometers before we got to this place this morning. Even though I got to my own polling booth around 8, the electoral officers, they are all, they are waiting for the electorate. Some of them were already gathered before 8 o'clock, but we were told that the vote proper will commence by 8:30. So I will still return back to do the proper thing. On our way coming, we saw, we came across so many polling units that people also gathered. But there is one thing that is unique about this election, the relative peace. Our prayer is that we sustain it. And because people are more educated, and people also believe that politicians, they are not worth dying for, so that you don't destroy your today because of somebody, you don't destroy your tomorrow because of somebody's today. And the community leaders, most especially in Akure Kingdom, the Deji Council, they've been praying for the last 5 years in making sure that what happened in 1983 will not resonate. And I believe that INEC also, they've been so wonderful in the last 1 year since the commencement of this program. So I believe that politicians also, they play more mature politics in this time around, maybe because of the fact that most of the gubernatorial candidates are from the southern senatorial district of Ondo State, they are brothers. But all in all, I'm expecting something unique and something that other states will be able to copy. But in the area of voter apathy, because we saw some youth this morning playing football, about 50 of them early in the morning. And we cast their vote, and they are above voting age. But we'll get there. It's going to be through conscientization and through enlightenment, so that you will know that 2 wrongs can never make a right. If you believe in that the government is not performing the way expected, the not casting your vote will not solve the situation. So we still need to talk to them, so that in the subsequent election, the youth will participate more, because they are the future of the society.
So much, Prof. To have Oniju, what are your opening comments, briefly?
Well, my is focused on observing the election to see that all that have been said and planned by INEC, let's say the electoral management bodies, are carried out, the way they have said it. And so for us, it's a litmus to prove that, yes, they are up to the task, especially coming from the backdrop of what happened, or some of the gaps that were noticed in the Ondo election. And so Ondo State election should be used as the basis to address some of those gaps and ensure that they are nipped in the bud in the area of logistics management. So her involvement in this election is basically to see that we are able to observe the process. If there are issues and gap noticed on real time, be able to communicate to the appropriate authority for them to take remedial actions. But like Prof have said, going forward, I think, yes, we may see some apathy, but among the populace. But I'm sure when the news filter in that all is calm, there are no violence on the side, I'm sure a lot of people may come out eventually to cast their vote, because it's important that we have a large number of people this time around, electing their leaders, and not the 20-25% of the population that normally do provide the basis for employing our leaders, And so we are watching, we are looking, and we are observing. We are doing the three witches in one to see that the process becomes right, and we're able to say for this Ondo election, yes, we have thumb-ups for INEC, Ondo State, and INEC National that they've done a very, very good job. That will be my opening contribution.
Much, and as you said, we hope at the end of the exercise it will be thumbs up, not just to INEC, but to the electorate, the people of Ondo State, and indeed Nigeria. Thank you. We'll return to you sometime in the program. Well, Ondo State governorship election, last in the series of by-elections in the year 2024. Mia Ogidi in this report reminds us of some political developments in Ondo State and efforts to make the 2024 governorship election a seamless one by various stakeholders.
Political sunrise in the sunshine state of Ondo, created in 1976, ruled by 12 military administrators, governed by 7 civilian governors, a state with sweet bitter political history. Out of the 7 civilian governors, only one, Olusegun Mimiko, completed 8 years in office. 23rd of February 2009, a dark political cloud enveloped the Olusegun Agago political kingdom. Court voided his re-election on account of electoral irregularities, replacing him with another Olusegun, that is Olusegun Mimiko.
We are together in this moving train, and there is nowhere else to go but forward.
So, this was how Ondo State got admission into the institution of off-cycle elections in Nigeria. Mimiko handed over to Rotimi Akeredolu. Another sad political situation unfolded. After 6 years and 306 days in office, death snatched Rotimi.
And the body with the power to war. Your Excellency,
bringing into the number 1 seat the Deputy Governor, Lucky Ayeditiwa. 16th of November 2024, another moment of decision with 18 local government areas, 18 candidates testing their popularity. By December this year, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu will be 9 years in office. And in all these years, Professor Mahmoud always expresses anxiety over pre-election violence. But for the first time, he says, I am pleased so far.
I'm glad to note that there has been no major incident of election-related violence known to the Commission in Ondo State so far.
Yes, the endorsement doesn't mean to lose guard of the process, because every second looks dangerous in politics. So, peace accords signed among the candidates, and the general was there.
Election is not war. So please, want Nigerians, especially Ondo State citizens, to go out and vote for a candidate of their choice.
The electorate, the voters, all political gladiators, the police itself. All we need to do is just to ensure that peace reigns.
Campaigns over. 2,053,061 voters will decide the next governor in 3,933 polling units. Another movement beckons as the electorate rates the candidates. Mia Ogidi.
Right, Mia Ogidi giving us some background there. And Professor, we are witness to another off-cycle election, the last for 2024.
That's right.
What are your thoughts about Ondo elections?
Well, obviously, Cyril, thanks for bringing me over. I think it's a new dawn once more for Ondo State. You know, it's a yet another time
where the people are being integrated into the governance process, where their self-esteem is expected to be highlighted, because they are now supposedly going to be determining who will rule them in the next 4 years. And it's all about democracy, about involvement, about integration. And like one of the commentators in Ondo State said earlier on, people are obviously excited, they're obviously enthusiastic, trying to cast their votes, to be part of the governance process by electing their leader, for another term, as the case could be. So it's always an encouraging time, a moment of glory, a festival of a sort, And when people do that, it's the reason why we always say that leaders should also reciprocate by not letting them down, by doing all they can do, to meet their yearnings and aspiration. Because on their part, they have played their part, as the case could be. They have showed good faith by saying this is the person we want as against this person. And of course, if they have chosen you as their leader, it's just godly that you should not disappoint them. And this is another moment where we need to highlight that look, leaders should be continuously or much more responsive to the yearnings and aspirations of the people, considering how vulnerable they ordinarily are. The best they can do in the circumstance is to come out, vote, and if in the course of the administration, the tenure of an administration is probably not doing well, they can come out, through constructive criticism, legitimate protestation, make their case. They can't actually do much. The much they can do is to, give their rights, waive their rights, so to say, for the government, to reciprocate by giving them good governance. And this is another moment, like I said, on the back of the Edo election and in advance of the Anambra election, against the background of the many off-season, off-cycle election that we are having, and in the build-up overall to the general election, it's another time for INEC to also learn some lessons, see what more effort they can invest in the process, to strengthen it further to the discourse around deepening our democracy.
All right. Well, we'll look at all those issues and the number of those who are contesting and all that. But as we told you earlier on, our correspondents are spread across the state, and they'll be bringing us up to date on happenings there. We have at this point, Jude Abugu, who joins us from Alagbaka Primary School in Akure. Hello, Jude. How's it going there this morning, this election morning?
Syria. Thank you. We are still in Akure South local government area, and currently we are monitoring the process at Ward 5, Akure Ward 5, Unit 18, where we have seen a visually impaired nursing mother who has exercised her franchise. She'll be sharing her experience at the polling unit today with us shortly. Deborah, tell us how long it took you to cast your ballot as you arrived at this polling unit today.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The vote caster cannot convenient for the visually impaired. Due to that, they can't provide the braille guide for us to vote. Even I asked them that we the visually impaired, we are using braille guide, but they said I should not worry, that they will assist me to do it. So it can convenient a lot to vote. Okay.
Was it an INEC personnel that helped you to vote since they did not provide braille for you?
I think those that attended to me, I think that they are COPA. I don't know whether they are INEC or COPA. I don't know.
So are you happy with the way you were treated, where you came to this polling unit?
No.
Did they give you any special treatment? Maybe they did not allow you to queue up for long?
They did not allow me to queue for long before they attend to me.
Okay, we noticed you came with your sister. Let us also hear from her. Can you please tell us how the exercise is going in this place? Can you talk to us? You have also voted. How did it go? Don't worry, just talk. Don't worry, talk. Okay. Thank you. We have heard from Deborah, who is regretting that she was not provided with brave ballot to vote for the candidate of her choice, but she was assisted. We hope that INEC will continue to look into the challenges faced by persons with disabilities when they come to vote during election. That's the situation. Voting and accreditation are still going on simultaneously in most of the polling units in Alagbaka area. Back to you, Siri, in the studio. We'll keep you updated.
Jude, we'll also check in on you much later in the program to see what developments have occurred. Thank you. Now, right. Well, conducting elections is always a demanding task, but it becomes even more challenging in difficult terrains like riverine communities where distance and unpredictable travel times compounded by unique transportation modes present significant obstacles for the electoral body. Election observers and voters go through all of this. The logistics of moving people and materials is particularly complex. And so in this special report, Paul Omukago examines the critical issues surrounding the conduct of elections in the riverine areas of Ondo State.
Available records show that Ondo State, located in Nigeria's southwest region, has a shoreline stretching about 80 kilometers. A large percentage of riverine and coastal communities are in Ondo's southern senatorial district, which has a significant voting population. Investigations show that elections in these areas oftentimes face delay due to late arrival of materials and electoral personnel. Other challenges include poor telecommunication networks and the difficulty of reaching polling units in communities spread far apart.
And after voting, it used to take a lot of time before it gets to the center. Because before you leave here, I get to Kepare, on your legs, you trek for 45 minutes, and at that time, election has started from another place.
Sometimes there may be voter apathy, because one, here now, you can see the impact the road can play, which means during election or during voting periods, people in this place may not easily access the voting materials.
We have some difficulties, but with understanding, because everybody here will understand our terrain. So the terrain cannot be bigger than the individual.
For the November 16, 2024 governorship election, how does the Independent National Electoral Commission plan to overcome these persistent challenges?
We have made necessary arrangements for transportation and the protection of men and material on water during the election. We have been collaborating with the Maritime Workers Union from the eve of the election. They are the ones that will help us to transport our men and material with the support of the Navy.
Political analysts suggest that early preparations, especially in the area of logistics and security, are essential for INEC to navigate the unique obstacles of conducting elections in the riverine communities. In Akure, Paul Omukago.
I understand that Paul is somewhere on location in Akure, and if it's ready, he can update us on what's happening around his location. Yeah, well, there he is. Paul, good morning, Paul. Good to see you.
One unique thing is that...
Good morning. This is Obeela community.
We have seen a large turnout
where the candidates of the APC and incumbent governor casted his ballots.
Arrived sometime late last night at the rack centers. So
the process so far in this place has been very calm and peaceful. Materials got here quite early, and the voting process started as early as some few minutes past 8 this morning.
Remember that the police have promised that there will be adequate.
So I have one of the committee leaders here who has casted his ballot to speak on the process. Yes, with me now is one of the committee leaders here. He just casted his ballot. Sir, you just casted your ballot. Can you tell us your impression about the whole process?
Yes, it was very impressive because I see that everywhere is cool and calm. And by the grace of God, I know that there will not be problem in this community about the election going on now.
This is definitely one of the best.
All right. What about your impression about the turnout of voters today?
So, some sort of solidarity.
I know that everything will be going smoothly. There will not be problem, and I know that Lucky Orimusa will be the winner of this community. That is what.
Okay, he just cast his ballot, and I was trying to make him understand that he should by himself tell us his own impression about the experience this morning. And he said he's impressed with the turnout, and also the entire process was calm and peaceful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Earlier on, we spoke with the governor of the state after he cast his ballot, and he was able to react to the security situation. He said he's impressed with the presence of security all over the place, and he also said he's impressed with the entire process, peaceful, calm, and he expects that it should be like that all over the state. That was his views that he shared with us earlier on.
We conducted sometime yesterday.
Thank you very much, Paul. We'll check in on you much later. But let's go back to our studios in Akure, where we have Professor Adebayo Afe and Franklin Oloniju, who are right there. And Prof, let's start off with you. In this election, we have about 17 or thereabouts contestants for that office, but it would seem that just only less than a handful have been quite visible in the build-up to the election. What's your take on that?
I believe that the rigorous campaign started about 4 weeks ago. And I want to say that the noticeable parties tried the campaign throughout the wards, the local governments, and also even though at a territorial level, and in politics, all of us, we don't have the same capacity. There are some of those parties that people just want to contest because they want people to know that they are still surviving. But we are all aware that in those states here, let's say handful, I won't mention the number, that people really believe that they are on ground. There are some parties that they don't even have one executive. How will they fly? And the resources for you to engage in a campaign, serious one, you need a lot of resources. So we are not surprised. And there's one thing that I noticed in this election that really gladdens my heart, is that those people, the major political party, after the primaries, some of them, they supported their candidates. I gave the example of Chief Olusola Oke, SAN. He was on the trenches with the candidate of his party. Ditto others. Even though in the other party, Itayo Jegede, who was candidate of PDP during the last election, supported his own candidate now. That is, politics should be driven by ideology. Because if you don't play our politics and also imbibe some ideology, definitely that is why you see people being one party today, then another party tomorrow. So for us to have politics should be a culture. And for you to get a culture, you imbibe it for some years. So I believe that since 1999 now, we're supposed to be more matured in our approach. Cross-carpeting after primaries will not help the candidate, will not also help the political landscape. So to me, I believe that the national party, I'm using the word national party, those parties that have representation at the national level, they also try their best at the local level. There are some of those parties that they don't even have one honorary member in the House of Assembly. How would they fly? How would they fly? But I am so impressed about the conduct of all the political parties. And so what they focus on was their program, not on personality, not assassinating character. So to me, I believe that the future is so bright for the politics in Ondo State, and I believe that we continue like this. After the election, if people agree with the outcome of the election, based on free mind, I believe that other states will copy Ondo State, because in the history of Ondo State, this is the first election that no serious attack during the campaign. No serious attack. So we want to give kudos to our politicians. They play the game according to the rule. They should also accept the result according to the rule.
From what Prof is saying there, it would seem as if things have taken a turn for the better in Ondo State, because in the build-up to this, so many Nigerians were on edge, knowing the history of Ondo State, wondering if this was going to be another war period. But from all accounts, so far, things have turned for the better. What are your thoughts on it?
As you go ahead. That, like I mentioned sometime, the 1983 political turmoil, two gladiators, late Chief Adekunle Ajasin and late Chief Akeomo Bodewo, after the Holocaust of August 16, 1983, Ajasin lived for another 40 years. He died at the ripe age of 88. He died in 1997. Omo lived for another 29 years. He died at the ripe age of 80. And all of them, their children, were to do. Some people now believe that July died because of somebody. And the awareness and the level of education has improved tremendously. So to me, people believe that if I kill myself, or if somebody just decided to be gullible, it's the family that will lose. And also the role of Richard Guminico in making sure that crisis in Ondo State, political crisis in Ondo State, reduced. God has used that man, because when his election was rigged with impunity, he didn't resort to self-help. He pursued his case medically. He won at the tribunal. He also won at the appeal court in Benin, because there was no appeal court in Akure. And electoral law then, the litigation about governorship election terminated at the appeal court. And he recouped his mandate back. So it's a testament that even though if you resort into crisis, it's not the crisis that gives you back your mandate. Even though when there was crisis, Ajasin got back his mandate from the court. So people now believe that killing yourself will not help matters. So, and also the innovations of INEC, because for you to snap ballot paper now is going to be useless for you. So I want to give kudos to INEC. In the last years, new innovations, but the politicians should support them. If there is a good party primaries, that is the problem of our election. If the primary is accepted, you will find out that after the crisis after primaries will be reduced drastically. Let there be transparent in our party primaries, and the money we attach to our politics is too much.
Let's just take some time out and listen to Franklin, who is chairman of civil society organizations, Okay, let's take a bit from Franklin, the chairman of civil society organizations. And from what you've seen so far, how would you assess the political awareness of the electorate from what has been happening in the past to now? And as Prof said, people have now learned that the best way is to pursue matters in a mature and in a mature way according to the law. So how would you assess the political awareness of the people of that state in the last few years?
Like we heard from Prof, I think there's been an improvement in how people have now perceived politics in the state. And so the responses varies. But as a civil society person, our mandate has always been to provide information and education to the populace on how to continue to exercise their franchise. A lot of things, may want to affect the political awareness and participation of voters in an election. But we must understand that for Ondo State, there has always been a high level of understanding of who they really want to lead them. And before an election, being a man that's always on the street, you will have heard from people their perception, you have gauged their knowledge of the political environment and how the trajectory is going, where the trajectory is going. So sometimes the feelers are always there, because if you go to the Okada people, you are in the market, you are at the barber shop, you always hear about politics, and there could be back and forth, but people at the point would agree, and that transcends across the city. Before you know what's happening, you find out that a lot of people really know where they want to go, and I've seen that happen over the years. And so, but with that, you still need to create an understanding through enlightenment to the populace on some of these issues. At times, our role as a society also be to provide information to the populace, even on government and political activity, because you find out that even the process of voting is critical in the electoral process. And INEC comes up with new innovations, technology usage, new process of voting, and all these things needs to be provided to the citizen for them to understand, how to go about this process. If you look at INEC program for this year, towards this election, their program started about 1 year ago. And if you want to gauge what they have done, you find that public awareness, citizens' engagement took 90% of the engagement. Apart from what they do with the political parties and what they do in terms of distribution, engagement was critical in what they were doing. And so even civil society, they are partners in reaching communities on the election, which was also part of our mandate. And so you find out that along this trajectory, that even while we are engaging, we are hearing the people's perception on who and how they feel about the electoral process. So for me, it's been quite enlightening and it's very insightful to also know that we may think they don't know what they are doing, but they are there. Look at that woman that was the officially impaired person. She came.
All right, thank you so much, Franklin Oluniju. We'll return to you in just a moment, but we have on location Femi Afari, one of our correspondents, and he's located in Kiribu in Esodo local government, Ondo South. Well, yes, there we have Femi. Good morning, Femi.
Good morning, Cyril. Thanks for joining me here. Currently, I'm at polling unit 004 RCM Iduma Fokota, Kiribo in Ondo, local government area of Ondo State. Voting commenced around 8:30 this morning, and the whole voting process was explained to the voters. The INEC official here gave preferential treatment to persons with disabilities, and also he also announced while announcing the process to them that elderly people and pregnant women have the opportunity to vote first, which they did here. And the process has been going on smoothly. I think the turnout is great. The people are eager to cast their ballot here. I have someone here with me that has, hello, please come. What is your name?
Victor Adeoye.
How is the whole process going?
The process is going well. It's going free and fair. No problem, no fight. Everybody is exercising their rights as due citizens, legal citizens. So that's it.
Looking at the beavers machine, is there any problem?
No problem really. It's just sort of we're about to start. It was kind of having some issues, not able to capture some people, but at least for some time now it's working well and it's going on smoothly.
Thank you very much. He is one of the many youths here who are eager and ready to cast their ballot to determine the next governor of the state for the next 4 years.
Thank you very much, Femi Afariugu. We'll return to you subsequently. Thank you. Well, back here in the studio, we've just been joined by Rotimi Oyekomi. He's the Chief Press Secretary of the INEC Chairman. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Right, good morning. And it's election day in Ondo State, and all eyes will be on INEC. Say what INEC has learned from the conduct of past elections, how INEC will conduct itself in this election, and what would be the takeaways for INEC in future elections.
Thank you very much. We are adequately prepared for this election. We started preparing over a year ago, and we have put all measures in place to ensure a free, fair process. And it's about just an hour into the election, and the stories we are getting from the field are very, very encouraging. Polling units open on time in many, many areas. In fact, as early as 6:30, our officials were waiting for the voters. They set up very quickly. They mobilized from their racks to the polling units. The security men were with them. And people started coming in even before 8 o'clock, and they met the register of voters pasted on the wall, and they were checking. And I think things are going smoothly. So we look forward to a very successful election, going by what we are seeing now. Going to what we learned from the last elections, we are always learning, because for us, no two elections are exactly the same. You may have certain similarities, but there will be differences. And we are constantly learning, because if an issue comes up in election A, we fix it. If it comes up in election B, we fix it. So we continue along that trajectory. For this election, we are deploying our technology, our innovations. The BVAS is there to ensure that it's one man, one vote. You are not going to give an excuse that your fingerprints can't be accredited. If your fingerprints fail, the facial will take over, and you'll be able to cast your ballot. And we hope that from 2:30, as the polls close in various polling units and results are declared at the polling unit, the presiding officer will start uploading the polling unit result, that's the form EC8A, to the INEC result viewing portal. And let me also say that a week before this election, we were in Akure to witness the mock accreditation. We've always had confidence in our devices. the beavers working perfectly. But we test-run these devices, and it went very well, mock accreditation, and we also uploaded the result of that accreditation to the IREV, and there was no problem. We expect that the same thing will happen today.
Right. You've deployed the technology at your disposal. Again, the technology works best when those who would operate these machines also put in their best. And in the past, some of the challenges people have had was first with the equipment, and then second with the operators themselves.
That's right.
Right. And this time around, what assurances can INEC give about its personnel, including those who are not directly, those we consider as ad hoc?
Right. Training. For every loophole we see, we go back to the drawing board. As you're aware, we make use of the members of the National Youth Service Corps, very efficient, very educated, dedicated to the cause, and the training we give to them has improved. We have introduced new dimensions to make sure that they understand exactly what is going on. When the INEC chairman led a team to Akure just last week, just a week ahead of the election, we went to the centers where some of these adults were being trained. And we happened on a particular class where they were being taught about how to use the beavers. And you could see the enthusiasm in them. They were taught how to accredit. They were taught how to take pictures of the result sheets. They were taught how the devices function and what the buttons they are expected to press, when they are expected to press it, and all that. And questions were asked for those who didn't understand what was being explained. They asked questions, and we were quite impressed by that. And you will see today that things will improve tremendously, compared to what had happened before.
Professor Adeni, listening to the INEC Chairman's Chief Press Secretary here, outlining all the measures that INEC has taken, what they've done in terms of training and deployment of technology and all that. We leave that alone with the Election Management Authority, and we come to the people who matter most now, in this case the voters, the electorate. We have some 2 million plus, give and take, voters for this election. But a trend that is also noticeable in many elections in Nigeria, you'll have the number of registered voters. When the results are declared,
less than 500.
It will be a far cry from those. And we're wondering, is this a lack of education? Is it, what's responsible for this trend?
But I think voter apathy is something that is worldwide. It's usually global. People can be disenfranchised for different reasons, maybe because of their own, for some lethargic reasons, some reluctance, or overall disinterest in the process. It can happen, and that's why it's often very necessary for us to have, for societies to have consequential mobilization process before an election holds, and that's why INEC probably has a voter education department. But of course, in our own system, we do not expect, and we have always made this point, we do not expect it to be left, the responsibility to be left only with INEC. Political parties are also, they are expected to be involved in the mobilization process. Yes, people get excited, they become enthusiastic, in casting their ballots, thereby demonstrating their involvement in the process. But a lot more people also still feel there is probably no need, to participate in the process, because sometimes they wonder the previous participations, what gain, what reward, have they witnessed, But it's a continuous conversation, it's a continuous process of trying, conscientizing the people, making them a lot more conscious of of their rights and responsibilities. In some countries, for instance, voting is compulsory. You do not have an option. Australia, particularly, but in many other countries, it's voluntary. It's just a civic responsibility. How civil do we expect citizens to be? It's a function of so many things, really. But again, if I have to comment briefly on what Rotimi said, yes, INEC is doing its part in ramping up technology to limit the involvement of the human being in the electioneering process, because human beings, when they get involved, they can imagine ways of circumventing it. But going from our experience in the Edo election, the process was allegedly compromised by critics. From what we have had critics said, in the collation centers, at the level of collation, it's still very possible for people to manipulate the process. Yes, INEC keeps doing its best, and that's why we're talking about sometimes in this country, is it the laws, is it the constitution that's a problem, or the attitude of the people operating some of these processes, protocols and procedures. The humans manning these things, handling them, can still be compromised. And what is leading to this is it relates largely to our attitude, to a tendency to make things transactional, to monetize processes, commodify consciences at the expense of nobility, dignity, and the future of the country.
All right, thanks so much. Let's go back to Akure, our studio in Akure, and Professor Afe is right there. Prof, in your opening comments, Professor Afe, in our Akure studio, in your opening comments, you spoke about things being different. In those states, people now know what they should do, and everywhere is calm, allaying all the fears of violence. That so far, it's been okay. Can we put this down to the heavy presence of security agencies in Ondo? Because this is the trend now, where there's an election, security agencies deploy massively. And so people say, yes, you could have that calm because of the intimidating presence of security agencies. However, others would like to see a situation where it is the people themselves who decide that we must be peaceful in matters of election, and we do not need a massive deployment of troops, boots on ground. Which would you say is the case in Ondo State now?
That the security agents intimidate people. At least at least my residence to where I am now is almost between 3 to 4 kilometers. And the policemen that we met they were so civil, although many. But I believe that politics that we started since 1999, there will be improvement in terms of people's awareness. I believe people are more matured, and the economic crunch is also affecting some people. Why will I put myself into trouble for somebody that after being elected that we only care for is a close associate? So to me, people believe that politicians, they don't worth dying for. And even though if you are not happy with them, 2 wrongs can never make a right. I believe that individual decisions and the community awareness, there is every community. Most of the communities, especially I can speak for Akure people, we have functional community associations. People spoke to their people, and also there is a synergy between the police and the community officials. They police every meeting days. They used to tell people, culture your words. Tell them that law is supreme. And at the family level, people are also speaking. I am not saying that there will be absolute peace. But what we are talking about is relative peace. I believe that people believe now that there will be one government at a time. If you can't make it this time around, you make it next time. So democracy is supposed to be participatory. It's not that you are in prison for 4 or 5 years because of electoral offense, and you believe that that you've achieved something. So I believe that people believe that they must be orderly. That is when and how the society can move forward. It's not about intimidation. I've not set my eyes on any military officer. I've not set my eyes on it. I'm not saying they are not around though. I passed through their barracks. None of them at the checkpoint there. So I don't believe that there is a security intimidation. But the presence.
Okay, let's hear from Franklin, the civil society man. Let's hear from you, because you all over in the nooks and crannies of the state. Let's hear from you. What's the security situation like?
It's important to know that the level of politicking now, we still need that kind of security apparatus still, around. We don't encourage militarization of the electoral process, but the way we play politics now, I'm not sure we are confident that if there are no police around, things will happen, that we may all regret, especially now that people will want to impress their principal and be overzealous, especially those that are lurking within the the polling units, waiting for opportunity to misbehave. And so, the presence of policemen or security operatives often serves as deterrent, to hooligans. They might want to take advantage of the process. For example, I mean, you must know that we must understand that when people see the attitude of political thugs, they become afraid on the election day. If you recall that about 2 days ago, there was some level of intolerance among these political gladiators, even right here in Akure, where the posters of candidates were being torn, at major display points. And so we felt that yes, something may be brewing, and because the silence, like Prof said, is there, but is it the silence of graveyard that people planning things? So, if there are impressive presence of political security operative around, I believe it will serve as a deterrent. And don't forget, in my experience, actually, things does not happen in the morning. When the election kickstarts, most of these things, as we are striving to have peaceful elections, politicians being who they are, once they striving or planning to see how to manipulate the system, they work from my own perception with what is happening real time. And so any opportunity, we don't know what they might be planning, and we've seen cases where strongholds of political opponents are made unsafe, so as made out to cancel elections within that environment or not. So I think for me, for now, we have not matured to that level of even some African states where we've heard that political, EOs, people like EOs, go with the sensitive material like ballot papers and come back to the polling units on the election, on the eve of the morning of the election, to administer those ballot papers. And everybody is safe, nobody is snatching, nobody is disrupting. For example, if you look at where the gladiators are from, you find that even 2 wards there don't do election, and you can see that even materials there had to be escorted by gunboats of the Navy. You cannot even leave material. Last election, the ballot paper were thrown into the sea. So these are some of the reasons why I still think, that we need the security operative. But what we have noticed is that there's been a change in the attitude of the security officers over a period of time. I've never seen in Osun, I saw DSS that were manning some places being preventing election fraud. I was impressed. In Edo, I was also there, and I found out that the policemen and even the military were acted civically. And prevented a lot of nonsense from taking place. And so, from what we are having, those that we're having in Akure, even during our interaction from yesterday, 2 days ago, we've seen the way they were behaving. And we've seen that yes, they have been oriented differently, and I think that's one of the things that we must commend the police for. But I just want us to know that during the election, from my own experience, things does not happen in the morning. We need to wait till afternoon to see that yes, things do not go astray before we can relax. Thank you.
And well, as the residents of Ondo State go about casting their ballots to elect the next governor of the state, the Independent National Electoral Commission is also doing its part in intensifying efforts to ensure credible election and placing a strong emphasis on voter education. Part of it has just been spoken about by Rotimi Oyekomi. So in our next special report, Abiola Rio will be examining the role of INEC and the National Orientation Agency in promoting effective voter education across the state. But before we take that report, let's go back on location and link up with another one of our correspondents, Ifelua Omoshule, who is in Ijapo, Akure South. Good morning, Ifelua.
Akure South, Unit 17, Ward 4. Voting is actually going on. And then I have with me an elderly person, Idowu Gideon, who has been voting for the past 20 years. Today, he will be telling us his experience compared to when he has been voting. Idowu, please, can you tell us your experience compared to the experience you've actually had 20 years ago?
Once we are here, what we have seen is it is better than the past because no problem, everything go okay. Even federal governments, I thank government federal government for that, or can I say INEC, the way they are arranging it is good. It's good, and we are doing it.
All right, do you think there is any aspect they need to improve on to ensure?
Yes, the only aspect that can look for is they supposed to give more canopies and chairs so that they will arrange it as we are voting. Because what they are spending for the campaign is more than what they are spending on voting something. So when you get more canopy and the chairs, when we are sitting down, as the next one will be moving, not to be standing on the sound. So they need to keep us neatly so that we enjoy it more than before.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ido. That's the situation report from Akure South, Unit 17, Ward 4.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ifelua. We'll check in on you much later. Just like you heard, the elderly would prefer a situation where polling units are more comfortable for them. Well, I want to think about what the senior citizens will. But again, more and more senior citizens are participating in the electoral process. They've seen past elections, and they still put their faith in elections. Again, it speaks to the political awareness of the people and education for voters. Just before we went to Ifelua, we were introducing a special report by Abiola Rio on the role of INEC and the National Orientation Agency in promoting effective voter education.
In any democratic society, elections play a crucial role of giving citizens the opportunity to exercise their right to vote and participate in governance.
I know it's my right to vote, but it's unfortunate that most Nigerians don't really vote because some of them think their vote doesn't count, but I actually believe vote counts.
The way the election is being conducted now is changing. You can't compare it with those days. The INEC should not limit their sensitization to period of election alone.
Since the return of democracy in Nigeria in 1999, The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been responsible for conducting elections both at the state and national levels. With the forthcoming governorship election in Ondo State, INEC is intensifying efforts at fulfilling its mandate as the electoral umpire. Leading up to the election, INEC has been engaging in various electoral activities, including voter education and public awareness campaigns to emphasize the importance of voting and how citizens can participate in the electoral process.
We also have community-based voter education organizations. They have been on the field since 18th of September. They are on the field. They are in the 18 local governments, sensitizing registered voters on the need to exercise their rights as voters. In the course of that voter education exercise, they also teach them the voting procedure to make sure that their vote is not wasted on election day. How to vote, the procedure, how to thumbprint. We have our flyers in all the local governments, and our local government offices too, they send staff out to sensitize them on the need to turn out on election day.
Another key player in providing information and voter education during elections is the National Orientation Agency, NOA, whose activities have been notable in recent times.
Even at the world level, our presence is felt in the village squares, marketplaces, meeting with different categories of people right there at the grassroots. And at our own end here, we are also interfacing with different categories of people, engaging with the media.
With over 2 million people expected to vote in the governorship election in Ondo State, respondents are optimistic that INEC's preparation, alongside efforts of relevant stakeholders, will ensure a credible and widely accepted election in the state. In Akure, Abiola Rio.
Back in the studio here in Abuja, I still have with me Rotimi Oyekomi, and we've been talking about voter education, and you have also told us that INEC has ramped up virtually all aspects of its functions, including voter education. And again, you have a state like Ondo with very difficult terrain and riverine areas. That's where right. Access is a challenge. You have been able to penetrate those places with a message of what is expected of citizens in participating in governance by electing people and ensuring that when they do decide to join this process after being convinced, they don't face the challenges of materials getting to them late or evacuating, materials from their areas, citing the reason of difficult terrain.
Thank you very much. Like the resident electoral commissioner mentioned, we adopted various techniques in passing messages across for this election. And apart from the traditional media that have been quite cooperative with us in amplifying the messages, we use the social media because that's where you have the young people, where they exchange information, where they interact and express their minds. But at the same time, we have a category of Nigerians that are not on social media, the elderly, for instance, or people who don't have access to these things. And they are also citizens of this country, and they have the right to vote. They have the right to the knowledge about the voting process. So we adopt measures that are specific to them. For instance, we engage town criers in areas where these people are dominant. Okay. We target market days when people go to particular markets on particular days, and we also use the name. We do town halls as well.
All right. We'll just ask you to pause a while. Let's quickly go to a location, and we going back to Ayodeji Ogunshakin. This time around is somewhere in Ilaramoki. Ayodeji, go ahead, tell us your new location and what's happening there.
Siri, yes, presently the election is going on smoothly at this particular polling unit, Unit 16, Ward 8, in Ilaramokin local government area of the Ondo Central Senatorial District. A total number of 782 eligible voters registered at this particular polling unit, and presently electors are on queue to exercise their civic responsibility. In fact, at this particular polling unit, the likes of youth, women, aged, and the likes, they are ready to exercise their franchise as far as this election is concerned. I must tell you that the atmosphere is calm. Some people have cast their ballots, while some are even really waiting to exercise their franchise. I'm having with me one of the electors that have exercised his franchise to tell us, share his view about this conduct of this election. Sir, you've exercised their franchise, you've cast their ballot for the candidate of your choice as far as this election is concerned. So, what is your view? What is your general assessment of this election?
Yeah, in the first instance, I think Ondo State is the only one holding an election today. It's as a sort of being an off-season election. In 2007, Agagu won the election, but in 2009, the election was taken away from him, given to Mimiko, because Mimiko was said to have won it. That is why we come on off-season. But as it is, I think things are going on very well. Okay. And I would like to praise the Nigerian electoral system. Okay. Because I was part and parcel of watching the American process in the last election that produced Trump. Okay. If you compare the two, you will see that Nigeria have come of age. We only wish that the actors will continue to up the game. Okay. But I can see there is so much turnout today. People are turning out for the election. And I think the INEC went on very good sensitization, and even the government did so. And even with the perceived economic problems, people are still voting, which means people believe that it will be good, that there will be light at the end of the tunnel. People believe in the workings of this government, and people believe that things will be better. I think that is what I'm seeing here. I never thought people would turn up this way, but people have turned up. It shows things will get better in this country.
Thank you very much, sir, for your assessment about this ongoing exercise. Well, with the current situation, electorate are still on queue to exercise their franchise, to cast their ballots for their choice candidates. Now we'll be moving to other polling units to look at the situation there while we keep you updated.
Just as you were speaking there seemed to be a little bit of a fiasco behind you with voices raised and a lady behind there gesticulating, supposedly in anger, angry about something or the other. Let's just hope that that situation is under control and whatever it is has been resolved. Perhaps after this time out, you might like to find out what the issue was. Did it have to do with the process or some other thing? But it would seem as if it's calm behind you right now. So we'll return to you at some other point, except if you have something else you want to say about that.
What?
Yeah?
No, in a situation like this, we cannot but see a kind of situation whereby some people will be making some noise or even showing their grievance in one way or the other. But presently, everything is calm. Why even the presence of security here are really helping matter, are trying to, calm them and even orientate them of the need to exercise their franchise without causing any problem or any trouble, so that since the election has started peacefully, it will end peacefully. And at the end of the day, the people of Ondo State, we have cause to smile that the election is credible.
All right, thank you very much. We'll check in on you much later. Well, he says in situations like this, you cannot but witness one or two disagreements and voices raised. And so it speaks to the passion that people have. They want to be part of the process, and anything they perceive as standing in their way would have to be. But again, Nigerians show this passion. Have the the political class, have they taken into cognizance these, feelings by the citizens that they want to be part of a transparent process, and not just what people have referred now to as grab the power and then that's it?
Well, election generally can be very emotional. It's an emotive process, because people are out to make choices, and oftentimes you want to see things only from your perspective. We just saw somebody saying that I can go won the election, but it was taken away. Another person said maybe could won it, but it was taken away. So you have differentials, differences of opinion, and of course that's why we have the umpire to help us resolve it. And if INEC cannot resolve it, or if there are disagreements with INEC, there's a third party sitting there, the judiciary, to help us resolve it. But what has been our bane is actually the processes that characterize this resolution mechanism, be it INEC, be it the judiciary, are the processes leading with credibility and integrity. To what extent can we call to question, how these processes are managed? And I said earlier that it's a conversation that is going to continue. I don't believe that we can get it right just in one day, or that the mechanism we're going to adopt is just one that will be akin to silver bullet. It's a process, but we also want to make progress quickly, so that 25 years after we got our democracy back, we are still not making any changes. But of course, at the level of technology, with respect to INEC, we know that technology is increasingly being introduced into the process, and of course, the ability of the humans, the people, to manipulate it is gradually reducing. But there are still some levels where they are still tampering with these things. We do not expect that. Yes, the civil society activists Ondo said it correctly, that at this stage we may not see any distraction, there won't be any crisis, any issues around the election. But of course, as the election progresses, maybe towards the afternoon, the evening time, there will be issues. This we may not be able to discount. And for me, I'm not even optimistic that after the election result has been declared, somebody will not say it's going to court. We are not likely to see a loser or losers congratulating the winner, going by the previous traits of our election. But we also need to imagine a time where we begin to see losers being very dignified, in losing, and congratulating the winner. And of course, the winner being very, how do you put it now? Glorious, magnanimous in victory. And so that it will just be a seamless process. We just witnessed the American presidential election. Despite the controversies, despite the idiosyncrasies of one contestant or the other, we saw how the losing side, all of them came, rallied around, invited him to meetings, and of course we see how seamless the process is going, which means that they are prioritizing the bigger picture. And what is this big picture? The American picture. The American society is being prioritized over individuals. The future of that country is being prioritized over individual imperfections. And of course, when you're prioritizing the bigger society, you're also concerned about the people. But to what extent will we say now that our politicians, like you rightly mentioned, are concerned about the people? It's still a big question that we need to continue to interrogate very quickly. And beyond interrogation, we also need action. We see situations where leaders emerge, and soon after they emerge, they forget about the people. They are concerned about self-aggrandizement, feathering their own nest, discounting the interests, the objectives, the mandate, the essence of the mandate for which they were elected in the first instance, which is to tender to the wishes and aspirations of the people. And furthering their owners, expanding PECs and PECOSITEs, regrettably so, and of course bringing us backward, many years from where we hoped that we had moved away from.
Let's go back to Akure and link up with analysts in studios in Akure. Professor Afe, yes, you are so optimistic this process would, end smoothly. There are others, however, who are still cautious and saying, let's wait a bit until the process is about to conclude, and then we can see if what is playing out is sustainable. However, the judiciary has become an integral part of our electoral process, where just about every election, the result of every election is contested hotly. And it brings people to say, look, is it really the Election Management Authority that conducts elections and declares winners, or is it the judiciary? And some say, well, if that's the case, let's just all go to court and have arguments, and whoever wins the argument wins, because elections always almost end up in court, litigations all the way.
Of the election and my perception about the current election is based on my experience in the past. I grew up here in Akure, and at least actively I've been involved in politics, in voting since 1983. And I, as a teacher of political history, am aware of the prevalent situation in the state in the past. When I just post that one with the present one, it's just like a student that scored 40%, and you find out majority of them scored 40%. You find out that somebody scored 60%. That person will be celebrated. That is why I'm so optimistic about this election. I am a community leader. Not only as a community leader, I also am a religious person. So I am aware of the temperature, political temperature of Ondo State. Going to court, I believe that is part of the electoral process. It's better than taking law into your hands. If you are aggrieved, if the electoral process says that you can go to court, you can't blame the court because the law allows it. Somebody will be saying that maybe we are now allowed court to pick for us. No! If you refuse to organize good party primaries, and there's a litigation about that, will you blame my neck? You can't blame my neck. And I mentioned it elsewhere that in the First and Second Republic, in this part of this state, politics was a religion. And you know the meaning of that. But today, politics is a sport. It's a sporting activity. If you fail this time around, you still need to preserve your life and participate in the next one. I am not saying that Ondo election is 100% correct, but I'm trying to do comparative analysis of what happened in the past. Even though the last 4 years election, a lot of clashes took place between the two leading parties there. But today, nothing like that. At least there may be isolated cases, but we need to build on it. We need to appreciate INEC. We need to appreciate even though the political gladiators, so that we can get better. The only area that I believe that we need to improve tremendously now is voter apathy. And somebody said it the other time that voter education should be a continuous exercise. But democracy dividend will do the magic. If our leader perform creditably well, people will be impressed. Most of those people that said they won't vote now they've been voting. What have they gained? But to me, my argument is that 2 wrongs can never make a right. If you believe that somebody is not doing well, put yourself together and make sure you elect somebody that you believe that we turn on the tide. So what am I trying to say is that to me, as a person, I believe that At this point, when you compare this election with the previous one, this one is far, far better. What will happen tomorrow, I am not God. But what I know is that my assessment as of today is still very, very, it's incomparable. And I believe that if somebody go to tribunal, it's part of the electoral process. It's part of the electoral process. There's no crime in that.
Franklin, yes, it's the right of anyone who feels so aggrieved to seek judicial reliefs. But we've always spoken about this. Yes, a few cases would definitely end up being challenged. But what many Nigerians are concerned about is the process that every election, in fact, it's I don't know, I can hazard a guess and say up to 80% of electoral results end up being hotly contested to the highest level. And so it's become a standard procedure now that it's not about people going and being elected, it's about who gets to court and has a more convincing argument who eventually wins. And so can you really blame voters when you talk about voter apathy? When they say, well, we took part in the process, but it never turns out the way we wanted. We didn't elect to go to court. We elected to put in someone we believe can represent us properly. What are your thoughts on that?
Very much. For this election, in some of the series of engagements we had with political parties as organized by some of our members and even the Kuka Commission that came to have a program, all the aspirants, made a commitment and pledged to abide by the results of this election, and that they were also going to congratulate anybody that comes in tops or that wins the election. Rhetorics, some might say, but they've shown commitment that they are going to congratulate the winner, and that the winner will also be magnanimous to also run an inclusive government. This we all listen to, though we know it's not a law, but at least we have that belief that they can go back, look at those commitments, and also abide by it. Because election, it's always, to politicians, it's always a fight. But coming back to your question, I think it's quite unfortunate that we found ourselves, in this hot, I call it hot water, because these wounds don't tend to heal. If people go out and kill, do a lot of things towards an election, and it becomes easy to use maybe little technicalities to destroy, and to void voters' choices. People will never believe in that system. So that's the way we see it as rural people, as ordinary Nigerians. That's it. So, and now, because of the wiseness of the lawyers, they always want to, get money and also look for things, that will maybe usable to destroy the aspirations of others. Like Prof said, yes, you must follow the law as it. But how do we juxtapose that moral balance? If you take the case of Bayelsa, sometimes maybe Diri or something that had his deputy had maybe a certificate, I don't know, issue, and the whole citizen within Bayelsa voted for the guy, as we have people were jubilating, and the court cancelled it. for me, we might say, yes, people can go to all those, but those are the problems and these are what has continued to negate the belief of the people in the electoral process. I say, okay, we voted for this guy. I know they will go to court. One way or another, the court we favor the other guy who didn't win the election. They might not understand that there may be an infringement at the court, or maybe some of the electoral act has not been. What they see is that the lawyers collected like 500 million, 1 billion, and they manipulated the process to give their mandates to somebody else. How do we as a country continue to evolve to a process that, how do we to ensure that the voters, if a person wins an election that carries the votes of the people, then definitely that should be upheld. We don't have electoral college, so I don't think all this technicality, are saying that some people will sit down and elect. No. So these are some of the things that, we felt, that even as civil society, that is not right. These laws were made. How do we use this electoral act to better the process? If we need to amend certain things, then we must be able to, do that to ensure that when people win an election, how do we reduce the impact of technicality in using that to upturn election? And you heard what the young man said, and Prof was going to vote. He saw 50 youths playing football on the road, indicating that they're not going to participate in the process. How do you bring that back, those number of people back to come and vote? You must recall that in Ondo State now, as a result of the continuous voter education exercise that was conducted, over 60% of those that were on that list that are young people. Will that translate into votes for And so if over 60% are not interested, because these people communicate through the social media, then we still have 40%. That 40% definitely are not going to be the ones coming out. So you might end up having about 20-25%, which had always been what the number that's been determining determining the governorship in the state. So we have not moved. Understand? So going to court, fine, is good. It's part of the electoral period, like Prof said, but that has not really helped, the psyche of voters to continue to trust the electoral process, and that's why a lot of people are staying out of election. We've gone there. We've met these people. INEC is talking about engaging community people. Some of our members have spent almost a month, at community level. Those rural areas that you think we've gotten people within those areas that continue to do electoral education. While you are seeing some camps there, the two gladiators are brothers. That might have acted. But the truth is that other parts are Koko, Owo, Idori. They are there. They might not have all this seemingly peace that we are seeing. And the youth are not going to be coming out. So for me, I think we may need to tweak that process to ensure that vote really counts, and the court interference within that process is reduced to a barest minimum. And that's one of the ways that, for me, I think we can show up voters, especially the youth, confidence in the electoral process. That's my take on that particular question.
Studio in Abuja wrote to me. I'd like you to respond to that aspect which Professor Adeni raised earlier on, that yes, the process is proceeding smoothly at this point in time. You've deployed technology, and technology has enhanced the entire electoral process. However, it is at that critical point that we still have issues of the system being open to manipulation.
Well, I will just go straight to our last experience in Ondo State, which was really very good. The last governorship election 4 years ago, I recall that 3 of the candidates were lawyers. In actual fact, they were senior advocates of Nigeria, and the election went very well. Before that election, we consulted widely. Traditional rulers, religious leaders, civil society, political parties, appealed to people. We had a good election. We released the result. And they didn't contest the result. These three lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria, the same Ondo State. So I believe that we are going to have even better experience this time. Well, like I always say, two elections are not the same. But I believe that for every lesson learned, we make sure it doesn't happen again. We have secured our collation centers. We have told the security agencies what we need to happen there. They need to give access to people. They don't need to interfere. When you are securing the place, it's not the same as interfering. We've had our arrangements. You know, we have individuals appointed to play particular roles. And when the collation takes place and gets to the final stage, we all know what is going to happen there. And we don't expect anybody to interfere. In fact, the reason why the security agents are there is to prevent external forces from interfering. Because, of course, you may have one or two ambitious persons wanting to try one or two things. So the security agents are there to ensure that that doesn't happen. So we don't expect that to happen in this process.
All right. So,
yeah, that's very reassuring, you know, because even up to a few weeks ago, we still had some critical members of the society raising concerns on the need for us to improve on the credibility of the collation process, you know, because that's at the point at which people are now beginning to manipulate the election, as it was allegedly witnessed in the Edo election, which is still a subject of litigation. But I think it's something that we have all agreed that everything is work in progress. Deepening our democracy is work in process, and strengthening, you know, the integrity of the voting process is integral to it, because every democracy revolves around the sanctity of the electionary process, and that process is not what we can afford to compromise, you know. So, but again, it's not just a role for INEC alone, because INEC is simply an institution. There's also another institution, which is the judiciary, and there are increasing concerns, you know, in credible circles around the emergence of merchants of justice, where that important sanctuary, you know, has been a witness to different levels of compromises. Is the last thing you want to see? Is the last thing you want to imagine, given how central that institution is, not just to the strengthening of democracy, but any society at all. And of course, we know that we are all citizens of this country. We are all listening. We are all participants in the process, and we also know that the responsibility to improve the entire system is not for any institution or any individual. It's a collective one, and we're all involved.
Well, even as we're discussing here, we're seeing pictures of some of the happenings in Ondo State. What you saw by the side on the split screen at that time would have been pictures from one of the centers where the election process is ongoing. People casting their ballots and going through the whole process as to decide who would be the governor of Ondo State for the next 4 years. And INEC is reported to have cleared about 17 contestants in that election. But we, again, talked about this behind the scenes here, Prof. That of those...
yeah, you know, but to be honest, I heard it from you that they're actually 17. I know there are about 18 registered political parties, but in the case of Ondo...
They are 18 now.
18 now. 18. But right. In the case of Ondo, I only know about 2. Them, okay, to some extent, the Labour Party, because I remember up till last week, there were still disputes, you know. It was only when Peter Obi, their presidential candidate last year, came to endorse one candidate that I started giving credibility to that candidate. Before then, I just thought it was just PDP and APC. You know, so.
Well, of course, you find that someone earlier spoke about the process leading to choosing who the standard bearer would be, and that's talking about primaries and the parties, and that is fraught with all kinds of issues. And we had to witness any primaries anywhere in this country that I knew about that was not turbulent. Again, the judiciary steps in. So from the level of primaries right up to the election itself, it's it. Right. Well, we'll go over to the scene of action, and we understand that the PDP candidate in the election, Abuja, is about to cast his vote at a station. Right, that's him there, going to perform his civic responsibility. That's the PDP candidate. Right. And so, as we were saying, it's all from the beginning, the primaries. That's where the litigations begin.
Actually, yesterday
right.
we received an order from the Court of Appeal.
See, make it just stay for here.
We had somebody on the ballot, and then somebody went to court and got an order to have the other person substituted. And then the Labour Party now went to appeal court. The appeal court now granted the prayers of the Labour Party. So the other guy that was there initially has now been restored.
All right. So that's the PDP candidate, I guess. That's him. He's part of the process, and we hope he would make a few comments. Let's see if we can get the sound up from our correspondent who's on the scene.
Your Excellency, at every point, please turn any camera. Do your own outside. How are you ready?
You can see it yourself. The system is not perfect. Things are not working. It takes them more than 10 minutes to capture me, who is the candidate of the PDP. So all of us here, you can see the drama. And a lot of complaints here and there. If INEC cannot successfully organize election in one state, just one state, then you must know that we are running to anarchy.
Certainly, you must have been hearing reports virtually
everywhere. It's not even me who is contesting the election can experience this up to 10 minutes before I could be allowed to cast my vote. A lot of women will just let me go back to my house. I think it's deliberate on the part of ANEC, on the part of the REC. And we have said this several times. We don't trust Barrister Latoni Abalola, that this woman cannot be fair. The system is compromised. I have series of calls today, and I make calls to everybody. People are complaining, vote buying. Beavers are not working, even when it is just a tools that, ringing tools for them. It's a ringing tools for them, but it's not even working. It's a very shameful exercise, and I think Nigerians should just call on the chairman of Electoral Commissioner,
your assessment of the
Professor Mahmoud Yaku. It's not if you cannot do the job, it's just honorably resign. He should resign. This is embarrassing.
So you don't trust the integrity of this?
This is totally compromised. You have seen it yourself. Totally compromised. Totally compromised, and it's very sad. Nigeria is going to a state where people are an idiot, a non-entity. Because you are in a ruling party, you become what you want to become. Under President Jega, INEC was almost getting to that level of international standard. But Yakubu Gowon has drawn us back. This is sad. This is sad, and Nigerians are not happy.
This assessment of the security situation so far?
Well, security situation on the part of the military, police, well, I don't know what is happening in other places. But here, it's peaceful to some extent. But I also accuse them that why are they so close to my polling units?
Who in particular, sir?
The military. I accuse them, and once I finish this interview, I'm going to put a call through to the brigade commander. I don't know why they are. If they want to come and participate, they also come. They can't be intimidating voters. How do you want to station about 7, 9 armed men, military soldiers, military personnel, armed, fully armed? I said, we are not at war here. And I even approached the gentleman. I said, my brother, can you please look at the distance between where you are and this voter and this polling booth? Can you please extend?
Well, it's still early in the day talking about the process in Ondo State, but the complaints are coming already. As you heard there, the PDP candidate alleging that INEC is deliberately compromising the process. We'd like you to comment on that, Rotimi.
Thank you very much. It's very unfortunate that a top politicians like that gentleman will make a statement just 3 hours into the electoral process that started 8:30 today. And I'm shocked because this is the only different opinion that I've had since the process started. We've listened to various reports, I've watched the social media, and nobody has said the process is compromised. Nobody has said the whole thing is not functioning properly. We've had reports from the field where, in most cases, our officials were there even before 8:30. And we've had reports where voters themselves have commended what the commission has done. We are not claiming to be perfect, but I think it's charitable at this point for a politician like him to make such statements. So he's entitled to his own opinion, that's what I would say, but I just want supporters of all political parties to pay attention to what is happening around them and not listen to some of these things uttered by their leaders. This election has been peaceful. I'm sure that by the end of the day, we'll have a smooth process, and then when the results are declared, it will be acceptable to all.
One of the complaints of the gentleman was that it took him 10 minutes to vote. Is that period one that can be said to be too long, too little, or adequate?
Let me tell you straight away, personally, I don't believe what he said. I think he just said what he said because it's in his position for some time. I think they just have a negative attitude towards what we are doing, and it's extremely unfortunate. I don't see how it will take a voter 10 minutes to be accredited at all in this election. I haven't heard that story. And we will investigate it. We will find out from the poll officials in that particular polling unit. We will look at the report and we will inform Nigerians what really happened.
Let's try to put this into context. A voter appears at a voting center. Take us through the process and how long you expect that to take between the time they arrive at the center, when they get to being accredited, and when they get to vote. That would give us a clearer picture.
Now, if a voter gets to the polling unit, he is expected to present a permanent voter's card, and then you have our officials, they will take the PVC and check the register of voters to find out if he's actually registered at that particular polling unit. When that is done, then he will have to go through the process of accreditation. And that is where the bimodal accreditation system comes in. Now, that process is supposed to be seamless because the beavers for every polling unit has got the registered voter of that unit. Now, for instance, if polling unit A has 7 voters, that's the register of that polling unit, the entire number will be on the beavers. So when your PVC is taken and you are asked to go through the accreditation process, the first thing is to try to capture your fingerprints. Now, because everybody will capture and show it is you. In time, expect that this will happen. 30 seconds. And that's what we expect. Well, in the unlikely event that there are hitches, you know, maybe there is some problem with the beavers, we have an official member that will quickly come and deal with that matter as quickly as possible. And that's an unlikely thing because these beavers machines have been configured, they have been fully charged, and we don't expect any problem at all.
That's a comment.
So I just felt that it was too early in this kind of negative, discouraging comments from eminent contestants. Though he has his right to express his opinion as he feels, but we also know there is not all this everything that looks right that is reasonable. As a leader, we have to be circumspect, and as a political leader, it's even more so that you should be circumspect, especially when making that a institution like INEC, you know, and of course, many people have also said that after the election itself, he's got the right, to resort to litigation if he wants, even though we are looking forward to a time where people can be very gallant in losing, to say congratulations to the winner, who will also expect that he will be magnanimous in victory. Again, this is just 3 hours into the electoral process. We see still a long day. We still have a long way to go, and a lot more drama, a lot more things are still to be unpacked. And be all the processes as they unfold, but again, we need peaceful conduct of the election, so that at the end of the day we'll have a peaceful declaration, and eventually we'll be hoping for good governance for the people of Ondo State. Ondo State, I beg your pardon, at the end of the day.
All right, so voting is still progressing in parts of the state. We will now bring you a report from Ifelu Amshule in Akure, and they're sending in reports that voting started on time, and would also have voting in Owo local government area, and also our correspondent there, Oluwakemi Ademola, would be reporting on that. So let's get to see these reports.
This is Ward 5, Unit 19 in Alagbaka. Voting actually started early in this polling unit, and I have with me here one of the voters, one of the elderly who has actually cast his ballot in this polling unit, and his name is Afolabi Obashuyi. Please, Afolabi Obashuyi, can you tell us your experience in this polling unit?
Well, as early as 8 o'clock, I was here, and to my dismay, to my surprise, it was already fully packed. So far, so good. The voting started, accreditation, everything has been very perfect here.
Do you think there is anything the Independent National Electoral Commission should actually improve on?
Well, for now, because we haven't had any problems so far here, I think they're doing quite well. INEC is doing quite well, and the presiding officers are they're doing their job excellently.
Thank you, Afolabi. That is the situation from Unit 19, Ward 5 in Alagbaka.
This is Ward 7,
polling unit 8, where about 676 electorate are expected to cast their vote for the governorship elections coming on in Ondo State today. With me, I have one of the people with disability about casting his vote at that polling unit. Boss, kí lorúkọ yín?
Orúkọ mi ni Akadri Sunday Peter.
Akadri Sunday Peter.
Was 7:88.
Kí lẹ wá ṣe?
Vote láti wá dìbò fún èèyàn tó wù mí lọ́kàn. Ìbò wa dẹ̀ wá òkè, kò síjà, kò sí kankan.
Ṣẹlẹ̀ bá mi sọ lóyìnbó.
No, they are voting here, no fighting, nothing. So the election come for peace. So people must come out.
What Peter is actually saying is conduct here is very peaceful and the election is ongoing. He is here to cast his vote. The election has started and people are on their queue casting their votes. We keep people.
My assessment is, can say that everything is cool and calm here. They comport themselves, and I think everything is going to go on fine. We'll be here until they finish counting, and we'll now tell you what next to do.
How will you assess the turnout of the voters?
It's very early, but from what I'm seeing, I know a lot of people come. You can see that they are coming in gradually. They will come.
So what do you expect from INEC in this election?
As I said, they've been a good umpire. They should try as much as possible to prove themselves right. A lot of people are saying, for what happened in Ondo, we happened in Ondo. And I said, don't worry, this Ondo, they will prove themselves right, and we appreciate that they will definitely prove themselves right.
I'm currently at polling unit 21 in Sakwe Ward 8, where INEC officials are diligently attending to voters in line, ensuring their permanent voters cards are thoroughly verified. Here is Mr. Adeshino Mahmoud, who just cast his ballot.
And here is Sakwe Ward 8, unit 21, opposite the college gate. And personal observation is like the INEC official, they were shaking, and some of them are not properly trained. Personal opinion, and the voting exercise that we did here, it was a bit more faster than this. The accreditation today is slow pace, but thank God I've casted my ballot.
Security personnel, including the police and other sister agencies, are on track to maintain law.
All right, the story goes on, the state of the elections, and at this point, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa is about to cast his ballot. Let's see if we can capture that and bring it to you live. Right, okay, in a short time from now, we expect that the Ondo State Governor, Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa, will be voting. We'll try as much as possible to capture that live as he does that, and hopefully get one or two comments from him about the process so far. A short while ago, we witnessed the PDP candidate voting, and so when the APC candidate, the sitting governor himself, is about to do that, we will hopefully bring you those pictures live. But let's go back to Akure studio, and again with our guests in the studio there to comment on the process so far, what we've seen on screen, and how we're progressing. Prof, let's start with you.
I just listened to the comment of our former deputy governor. I believed I was saddened to hear that statement at this period, because INEC, this election, what I used to tell people, we've spent, the Nigerian government, they've spent a lot of money on this election. So whatever I want to say, we must look at it critically about the implications, not only on Ondo State, but Nigeria. So I believe that there's what we call fallacy of AC generalization in philosophy. Because something is happening somewhere, that doesn't mean that it's going to be the same all over. So I want to appeal to INEC that they should look into what he has, all these allegations, like the chief press secretary mentioned, so that they will allay the fear of the.
Right, we're just taking off from the studio there so as to link up with Paul Obukagu, who is on location. Right, Paul, what can you tell us?
At Ward 4, Unit 5, where the state governor cast his ballot. And any moment from now, he's coming out to speak to us, and we are hoping that we'll have him live.
The governor right now is casting his ballot, right, and he's still right there at the polling unit. That's what you're telling us, and we expect that once he's done that, he'll step up, and then we can hear his views on the process so far. We did see a flurry of activity there a short while ago. I guess that was when he came in, and you know, the journalists at the scene, they have a lot of shoving and pushing to be in a vantage position. But we expect that we'd get to hear from him live about what he thinks the process has been like since the commencement of the exercise at 8 o'clock. However, you can also tell us how it's been like at that particular polling unit where the governor is voting.
This particular polling unit, it's been a very calm, peaceful process, and very orderly, and so far so good. The process started quite early as 8 a.m., and the people in this particular unit came out in their numbers to cast their ballots. They even did it long before the governor arrived to cast his own ballot. And having cast his ballot, he even had the opportunity of speaking with the media concerning his own impression about the whole process. He did mention that he wants to believe that as this particular unit, this particular ward is calm, he expects the same thing all over Ondo State, and that he has not had any report about anything contrary to that.
Well, let's just be clear about this. Yes, Paul, just a moment, Paul. Let's be clear. Has the governor left the station, because the polling station? Because from what we said earlier on was that he was in the process, and then he would come out and address the people. But you've just said now that he had time after casting his ballot to assess the situation and express satisfaction. Are you saying that he has left that polling unit now, or is he still there?
within this vicinity. He has not left, and we have already made contact with him through his personal aide that is going to speak to us on live camera. So we are waiting for him to come out.
We will keep an eye on that, and it would have been really fine if we had got him at that point where he was, being accredited. But well, I suppose we'll just have to make do with when he comes out to give a talk to the media. So just be on standby. We'll return to you in just a moment, just as soon as the governor comes back to speak to the journalists there, and we'll take you on live. So be there. We'll return to you in just a moment. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. So just before we cut off to go to Paul Omokago, we had Professor Afe, who was commenting on the process so far. So I think we can return to our studios in Akure and ask Prof. Afe to pick up from where he left off.
And now about this, our electoral process is that it seems as if people believe that the only job around now is politics. That is why the symptom of a do or die and the money they are spending on their campaign, very, very bogus. That is why the unforgiving spirit about losing an election is palpable. So I don't know what we can do about it. I know in advanced democracy, you make it in your private practice before you join politics. But here, you amass wealth through, even though somebody just leaving secondary school, want to be a councillor, from there you want to go to House of Assembly, go to House of Representatives, we must discourage all these things. There must be maturity in all these things. Because the only thing we are still enjoying in this part of the country now is peace. The economy is bad, so we don't want politicians to compound our problem. That is my own. There are some of us that will believe that everybody cannot travel, they cannot jackpot the way you people used to say it. But that is why I want our politicians to weigh the implication of their utterances. I want them to weigh it. It is frightening. A process that started about a year ago, for you just to give a sweeping statement that the thing should be condemned or whatever, I think I'm appealing. I'm not a politician, but I'm appealing. I'm a stakeholder in the state, and I want all other people to please let us know that there will be Ondo State after this election. Not only that, the same set of people won election about 4 years, about some years ago, under the same INEC. Under the same INEC, they won election. And even though the election is still ongoing, we don't know who will win the election yet. So please, I want us to look at the implication, import of our statement. The people, they've invested a lot of time, a lot of energy in making sure that we advance this democracy. And democracy is the best form of government that I still know to today. Maybe there will be another one tomorrow, but we can still fine-tune it.
Thank you so much, Prof. But yes, your co-analyst is right there beside you, and let's go to him. From the civil society point of view, the whole process begins to have challenges right from when the parties hold their primaries, and that's where you begin to see that the question of internal democracy has not quite taken root in many of the parties.
Very right, sir. And I think as civil society, we were, opportune to have witnessed party, primaries. One of our primary concern and activity to participate in the primary, in observing party primaries. And I remember during the election that I brought in Akeredolu the other time, when there was with Mimiko fighting for the governorship. We were there. In fact, we slept in Dome. We slept at the party because they did not finish until the early hours of the next day. And so it was exciting to have witnessed that process. It may have its challenges, but yes, a process was followed. I think that, should have been, but, should have transpired across board. If you look at the organizers throughout this process, you find that there were no primaries. Some of the candidates were just adopted. Some were direct primaries or indirect. They were, and you find that it did not provide that basis of really weighing those candidates. And so I think if there are internal democracy through respect for party primaries, it will go a long way, like Prof said earlier, in shaping a new form of ideology within those political parties. We don't have ideology driving political parties now, and it's a shame. But even before that, I might come back to that if I have time. But I must make a brief comment on what transpired just now with the candidate of the PDP. You remember about some few days ago, we had to make a press conference as civil society organization in the state. I am also the co-convener of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. We had a meeting with the REC in Abuja where she needed to brief Nigerian civil society across the country on the preparation for preparation by INEC towards this election. And we were right there in Abuja when the protest started in at the INEC office in Abuja with the REC having that meeting with us. And we found out.
Let's just ask you. Yeah, we're going back now to the governor who's making a statement here. Let's hear him. What he's got to say.
At Unit 03, at Obenla, Ugbo Ward 4, Ilaje local government area of Ondo State, I've just casted my vote, and the assessment so far, the area has been peaceful from the information at my disposal, but judging from what is happening here, the area is peaceful. The people are generally exercising their freedom and franchise by casting their votes peacefully. And I want to believe that this is what is happening in other parts of the state.
His Excellency, as regards INEC and security operatives, what's your assessment of them?
Well, for INEC, they've been very transparent with the whole process. I went through the process myself. My card was brought out for screening, accreditation before I was given the ballot paper and I casted my vote. And that is what they have been doing for every voter that have come. So I think that is the process. So they are adhering to the process. But for the security agents, they are also on ground. And so far, we have not recorded any issue that, any crisis, we have not heard of any. I can only be at my polling unit at a time, and that is where I am. But from information gathered from other locations, I have not heard about any incident of any violence, as it were. So I want to believe that the election will be peaceful. We are very peaceful people in Ondo State. Ondo State is one of the most peaceful and safest states in Nigeria. So, and even during election, we've gone through different elections at different times, apart from 1983 when we have a major crisis at the time. Since then, the state has been peaceful. We've learned our lessons. We comport ourselves, and I want to also salute the youth. They have been very, very obedient and participating, in the right manner. So I I want to believe the whole exercise is going to be peaceful, transparent, and credible and conclusive. Yeah.
Yes, he has actually reacted to part of what I want to say. The process which you are also monitoring from this side, based on reports, feedback that you give with men in crime in other locations of Ondo State. What is the general message you want to pass across to the people of Ondo State as far as this entire process is concerned?
I would like to tell all the residents in Ondo State, the citizens and residents, especially those that have not casted their votes, should come out and cast their votes, and thereafter they should remain calm, and also whatever is the outcome of the exercise, we should all accept it as the decision of the people.
Okay, finally for me, just from what you said now, you said the outcome, no matter what the outcome is, the people of Ondo State should accept.
Yes.
Okay, what if the outcome of the election does not favor your party?
Well, if it doesn't favor my party, as long as we did not receive any incident that is fraudulent in any way, why not? We accept. But if we notice any practices or, like I told you, I can only speak from here at the unit. I can only be at my polling unit at a time. But so far, from what I've heard from other locations, it's been peaceful. We've not been recorded anything. But overall, at the end of the day, if it remains so, why not? I will accept the outcome. But if other factors or infractions or malpractice or non-compliance, the procedure, if we notice any of that, well, the only thing anybody can do is to go to court, to the tribunal, to challenge that. But by and large, if we did not experience any of such, why not accept the outcome of the election?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa speaking to the media there after casting his ballot. He's also given brief assessment of the exercise so far. And as he says, at his own polling unit, everything went on smoothly. From reports, he says, he's received things are going on as they should. However, he emphasized that he can only be at one point at a time. And so we have analysts in Kure's studio. Franklin was on speaking at the time. We had to cut off to join the governor in order to give us his assessment of the exercise so far. So Franklin, you've listened to the APC candidate and current governor of the state, Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa, on his assessment of the process so far. What do you have to say to that?
I think that's the way a public official should speak. You don't expect a public officer of that nature to speak without tact, decorum, and any sense of sensibility. I align with Prof in saying that is not the way to speak at all. It's not the way. I never expected that kind of, it's now a trajectory with them, because we had to come out with a press statement to address some of these things that they were saying in Ondo State. And I was saying that a rec, that you have not come out to say these are the issues with her in time of other than that the rec used to be living in the border town. I spent some of our time in Ondo State. And on that basis, you need to relieve her of her job, and you start casting aspersion on that. And you are even saying it presently now that you do not trust the system, you don't trust it because she's there. What really is the problem? Is it because she's a woman? Is it because you have approached her and she has not yielded? What is the problem? And now you are casting aspersion on her. If you remove the woman, are you bringing a new woman to replace her? Or you want to bring your own person, who is a man, to replace her? What really is this that we are seeing? Why are people like this? Why are people like this? And so if you come to a process, a national TV to disparage her and disparage a whole process that has started that you were a part of, ordinarily you started complaining a few months ago. You were part of that process. What are we talking about? So if I don't know, but you see, so like I said, we have observers, over 1,000 observers scattered across the state that are also observing this process, and they are reporting in to us. We will have our own midday preliminary report by noon to just showcase some of the things that we have seen so far. But for me and what we have had, there's an improvement in this process. Why not let the process play out? Like the other governor, like the governor has said, let it play out. If there are issues, then you align your issues and, like Prof has emphasized, go to court. But if there's none, shut up and let's move on with this process. Now, if at the end of the day, you speak like this, then you are sending a signal to a lot of people to be ready to cause mayhem. And I think the security operatives in this state should also take note of that, of what the PDP candidate have said. He used to be a gentleman. He's a gentleman because these are people that we've interacted with during the process of election. I remember when he was contesting with Akere, he approached us as civil society and we asked for his plan, to let us know what is his plan for. It was the election that brought him in with Akere was run by this Mahmoud that he's talking about. You believed him then, you don't believe him now. So what really has changed? So, but, saying such statements where machineries are already primed in the state, then you are sending a signal, and I think the security operatives should take note and be at red alert so that by 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. and I think they really need to resecure this collation center so that things does not start happen when it's a bit dark and when they might want to. But I see that this candidate does not want peace. He shouldn't have said what he said. It's really demeaning of his status to have said that and rubbish a process within that, just like that.
Thank you very much. It's Ondo State that the elections is holding in, and Ondo, of course, a lot of people want to know a little bit about the state where the election is holding. Ondo State stands as a hidden gem in Nigeria. It's rich in untapped natural resources, including a diverse range of mineral and agricultural assets, which, of course, investors would be looking out for. Tony Battery examines how the state has leveraged these resources to drive economic growth.
Located in southwestern Nigeria, Ondo State boasts a wealth of natural resources, including valuable minerals such as bitumen, limestone, granite, and gold. Research reveals that Ondo's bitumen deposits rank among the largest in the world, with the potential to generate billions of dollars if fully harnessed. The state's extensive coastline also supports a thriving fishing industry and other aquatic activities. In terms of agriculture, Ondo State stands out for its rich production of diverse crops. As Nigeria's top cocoa producer, it also cultivates cash crops like oil palm, rubber, coffee, and kola nuts, and food crops such as maize, rice, and cassava also thrive due to the state's favorable climate, abundant water resources, and fertile soil. While some resources have been utilized for economic growth, many remain untapped.
Ondo State has vast land, majority of which is forest land. As we speak, we have over 320,000 hectares of land as forest reserve, and it houses a lot of trees, both exotic and indigenous trees.
Ondo State is blessed with 3 distinct types of agricultural zones. We have the rainforest, we have the semi-savanna, Then we have the coastal side. So we can plant nearly anything agriculturally in Ondo State.
Most subnationals, none of them are really annexed all their economic or natural potentials. They all have natural resources, one or the other. But because of the kind of life we live as a nation in the past, emphasis has never been on the state governments.
Stakeholders believe Ondo State could emerge as a key player in the global natural resources sector if its full potential is exploited and maximized.
There is need for the state to have specific policy in the area of agriculture. Our GDP could go up, then we can now begin to see entrepreneurship, moving up. Then it will, dovetail into our currency.
It requires a lot of money. It requires some expertise.
And we have not also been very fortunate to have consistency in agricultural development, because with each new administration, it's as if we start the journey all over again.
Some part of the forest reserve been degraded, but the state government is doing a lot to regenerate. Just last year, and which is still ongoing, we have approval to plant 80,000 seedlings, which has been completed.
It is important to note that the state government has introduced policies, regulations, and initiatives that promote sustainable growth in its natural resources sector, attracting investors and fostering employment and wealth creation for its citizens. In Akure, Toyi Batire.
Well, it is these resources that the people of the state hope that a leader will emerge and do something about, so that the state can move forward, can be an economically vibrant place for investors and people to do business. And that's the whole essence of this process of governance, selecting people who can steer the ship of state, to steer the state to greater heights. And that is why many citizens take interest in who leads them. Again, we have seen of the main contestants to the seat of being governor of the state, it's still male dominated. And this trend is taking some.
Yeah, first of all, Ondo State is, if you like, one of the most sophisticated states in this country in terms of intellectual acumen. Citizens, if most citizens are not educated, the few that are educated, are actually, at the top echelon. And of course, you cannot also discount the contributions of citizens, to the intellectual prosperity of the country. Vibrant universities, if not in Ondo State, but around them as well. So with that kind of characteristics, you expect that there'll be a translation for leadership. And they haven't done badly the last few years when you talk about the pedigree of the leaders they have had at the level of governorship. But has that translated into good governance, as the case could be? Well, that might be a contentious issue, but from the sound bites we are getting in the media, we've heard that Mimiko did well, Akeredolu also, of blessed memory, didn't do badly. And of course, Jekede, a sophisticated senior advocate of Nigeria, will also not have failed, if he had been opportuned, But it is what it is now. And again, you raise the question around the problem with our democracy, which is gender representation. Well, that's a long-term thing, something that is deep-seated, that has to do with our culture, with our religion. People come into the open and say, okay, let's give more place to women, but of course it's very easy to mouth these things, to make these things, to say this is at the level of pronouncement, but in terms of practicalizing it, it's been a problem. Now, what do we do in this circumstance? Should we now not begin to think about moving from the level of persuasion to the level of affirmation, like we have seen in some other African countries where we have more women in parliament, women becoming even president, maybe for now, I'm not sure there's any mechanism, any regulatory mechanism forcing the inclusion of women into the electionary process, maybe for political parties to be much more concerned about ramping up the percentage of women that will be on the ballot, So we need to get to that level of affirmation. If there's no affirmation, of course, people will still think they can take things for granted and translate our cultural practices, our religious practices with respect to how patrimonial we can be, and how we shouldn't be questioned in our ability, to ride over that important gender. We still think that we can transport it into the political sphere. Again, it will come back to leadership. Leadership prioritizing it, making it a focus. Because democracy, the quality of democracy is not just measured by the number of people voting, by the quality of leadership that we have, but also by the breadth of representation. And representation does not also mean that you're looking at it from class level, or from income group level, or from geographical location, but also at the level of gender representation. Otherwise, our democracy will continue to be a minus on the quality of our democracy if we are not mindful of how many women we're able to encourage into a political contestation process.
Let me take the same issue to Professor Afe in our Kure studios and say, what do you think about this? There's been so many campaigns about women participation and inclusion in politics, and this would seem as if it's not yielding the results as quickly as we would expect.
Continuous exercise. It's going to be let's encourage them, and to me, I believe that when people are talking about women participation, I don't believe that things should be given to people based on gender platform. You work for it, you earn it. Some of our women, they are doing fantastically well in their profession, which will encourage them, especially the younger ones. So I think years to come, there will be appreciable inclusion of women through dint of hard work. And women also should believe in themselves. They should believe in themselves. We have so many women that are judges, permanent secretary, that are doing fantastically well. We should encourage them. If you're a successful person in your career, I think politics should be the eyes on your cake. So if somebody is a successful architect, lawyer, farmer, I don't think that politics should be something that will be too difficult. But we must support them. They must also believe in themselves, and their peers also. I mean, the women folks to also believe in them, so that Nigeria will move forward. Look at what is happening in Botswana. We have so many women in their parliaments, so we can start from that one, even at the local government level. Now, those I think maybe about 1 or 2 of them in the House of Assembly is diminishing. I believe that when you are having about 20 legislators, if at least 8 is a female, I think that will add credence to the system, but nobody will give it to them on the platter of gold. They must work for it.
You do not believe in allocating specific seats, numbers, or to women?
That they are second fiddle. We are not helping them. It's not a sin.
All right. Okay. All right. I'd like to know what Franklin thinks about that.
Will always be on equal par between men and women, especially within the confine of the African and Nigerian settings. So you cannot expect a woman with what we have now to compete favorably with a man, especially when it comes to issue around politics, the issue of access to money, access to I mean, in time of the environment where politics are conducted, you have nocturnal meetings, you have all those things. It's not easy for a woman to compete with a man or with men in that axis. There are also other underlying reasons in terms of societal values that has always been a negative factor in that, and issues about patronization. All these things are issues that we have noted and that has mitigated against women participation. If you recall that the only woman that we had as a deputy governor sometimes even agitated to resign our position as a deputy governor until INEC said the time for change of candidates is over. And so until there's a deliberate attempt by political parties to include women and make them, visible within that environment, it might be difficult for them to continue to access political power. What we have.
Thank you very much. We will go straight now to our correspondent, Jude Abugu, who is in Isolo Oshodi, in Akure South, to update us on what's going on there. Hello, Jude. Go ahead.
Thank you, Syria. Yes, at this time we are at Unit 7, Isolo Oshodi, Akure South Ward 10. And as it stands now, voting has been concluded here. The INEC personnel, security agents, and the voters are all waiting for the official closing time to commence the sorting of ballot papers and collation. So far, we want to know how the election was conducted in this area. We have been to some other nearby units before now, where voting was still going on. But we want to know how come they have ended voting in this particular unit. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
You voted here?
Yes, of course.
Please, can you tell us how the exercise was conducted here?
We thank God. We give God the honor and adoration for the election. We conduct the election. Everything was so peacefully. We arrived here by 7 o'clock in the morning time. We are here. We pray to God that we should take control and no any arguments. Everything was so peaceful. We voted for our choice. There's no problem. We thank God that everything is
okay.
fine.
In terms of BVAS machine and the way the officials attended to people, are you satisfied?
We are all satisfied because they show us. They show us everything. They explain to us. They show us from beginning. The readers, everything, even the matching. They explain to us that they ask us that I will see what they are doing. We said we saw we see everything. Everything was so cleared. So there's no any hanky-panky in what we did here today. Everything was so peaceful. So no more.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with the NTA. I will now be handing over to my colleague, Ife Oluwa, to continue interacting with the other voter in the local language. Ife Oluwa, take it from here.
Thank you. I have with me here Elin Babatunde, who will be speaking in Yoruba. Ẹjọ́ ẹ ti dìbò lẹ́ni, ìyáàfin Elin. Báwo lẹ ṣe rí ìdìbò yẹn sí?
Ìdìbò náà ó lọ láyọ̀ àtàlàáfíà, kò sí wàhálà, kò sí ìjà. Gbogbo àwọn security wa wọ́n dẹ̀ ṣiṣẹ́ dáadáa. Àwa dúró fún kán ka ìbò ká mọ èèyàn tó wọlé ká tó máa lọlé wa. Là dúró fún báyìí, kò sí ìjà, kò sí wàhálà.
Okay, I will translate. Ellen actually said the voting process went well, and she looked forward to the result announcement when it will be announced. That's it from here. I'm Ife Oluwa Omoshile.
Thank you very much, Ife Oluwa, and earlier on, Jude. So thanks to both of you. But let's come to the studio here, and Rotimi is with us still. You saw from that polling station
said they've concluded the voting. All they're doing is waiting, but there's still some time to go, and you could see that so early in it, they're done, and everything just looks as if an election was not held there. But there's still time to go on, and so this is what we want you to talk to us about.
Well, in a polling unit, it's expected that voters, after casting their ballots, if they so desire, they can stay around the polling unit area for the whole process to be concluded. There is a distance from which they must stay so that they don't interfere with the process. So we are not averse to that. And of course, when the close of poll happens, the presiding officer and his assistant, in the presence of party agents, security agents, they will sort out the ballot, count, and then declare the results, and then enter the figures appropriately on the appropriate forms. And everything will be done in the open. Right. So when results are announced, then they will be able to see, they will hear directly from the officials which political party won in that polling unit, for that polling unit alone.
Well, this election, when does voting end?
It's 2:30 actually.
2:30.
However,
okay.
In the event where you have voters those who got on the queue before 2:30 will be allowed to vote. So voting can extend to 3:30, 4:30, depending on the number of people that were on the queue before 2:30. So our process allows for them to vote.
Okay. We're going back to the field where we have Tayo Shaw, who is in Ilara Moki and is going to update us on happenings there. Hello, Tayo. Go ahead. Tayo, what can you tell us?
It's indeed a sunny day here in Ilara Moki. I'm sure Ondo State is living up to its name as the Sunshine State. The voting process is going on smoothly here in polling unit 005 in Ilara Ward 2 in the federal local government area of Ondo State. The BVAS is working perfectly and everything is going on smoothly. But there's something unique about this polling unit. There are quite a number of women here. Some have exercised their franchise, while some are still in the queue waiting to exercise their franchise. I have with me a nursing mother. She's here with her baby strapped to her back. Not minding the sunshine, she's here to vote for the candidate of our choice. I will crave your indulgence for me to speak with her in Yoruba. I will definitely translate in English. I have with me Adebowale Adeshewa. Why are you here with your baby, not minding the sunshine and having to wait in the queue to exercise your franchise? Kílódé tí ètò ìdìbò ṣe tó ṣe pàtàkì sí yín pẹ̀lú ọmọ yín tó ẹ̀dẹ̀ wá síbí láti wá dìbò?
Fún ìtẹ̀síwájú ìlú ni la ṣe wá dìbò ní Ilara Moki ní bíbí fún ìtẹ̀síwájú ni.
All right, what she's saying is that she's here because she knows that our vote will definitely make a difference to enhance the development of the state. Thank you very much. So, kí ni àwọn nǹkan tí báwo lẹ ṣe lè sọ nípa ètò ìdìbò yìí? Báwo ni kí ni nǹkan tí ẹ retí lẹ́yìn ètò ìdìbò yìí?
Nǹkan dáadáa náà là ń retí lẹ́yìn ìdìbò yìí. Kò sí ìjà, kò sí wàhálà ní ìdìbò tọ̀dọ̀ wa níbí.
What she's saying is that she's expecting the best from this exercise, and the exercise is going on smoothly. There is no rancor of any kind. Thank you very much. Látìgbà mélòó ni ẹ ti dìbò gẹ́gẹ́ bí látìgbà tó ti tẹ́tí gbọ́njú tẹ́tí pé ọmọ ọdún 18 mélòó lẹ ti kópa nínú ètò ìdìbò?
Ẹ̀kan ni o. This is my first time.
All right, she's saying this is our first time of participating in an election. Thank you very much. I also have with me Ameju Anai Trader. She's also here to exercise her franchise. Kí ni nǹkan tí ẹ ń retí lẹ́yìn ètò ìdìbò yìí?
Èsì ayọ̀ là ń retí o. Èsì ayọ̀ ni à ń retí ní ìpínlẹ̀ wa kó lè ní ìdàgbàsókè.
Right. She's saying she's expecting a good result and she wants development for the state. Mama ìgbà wo lẹ ti ń dìbò àti pé mélòó ni ẹ ti dìbò?
Látìgbà tí mo ti wà náà kan ni mo ti ń dìbò pọ̀. Ìgbà yẹn la ti ń fi àdúrà ran ìpínlẹ̀ wa lọ́wọ́ kó lè ní ìdàgbàsókè fún rere.
All right, she's saying she has been voting since she became a wife, and she has always been praying for the best for Ondo State. All right, we'll be going to, that's the situation here, Cyril, at polling unit 005 in Ilaramoki, Federal Local Government area.
Right, Tayo. Thanks for that update. And you did mention, you commented that it's a bright and sunny day, and that it would seem, yes, Ondo State, the sunshine state. It's in line with that. But I can also say that you too are in sync with the weather, bright and sunny as well. Thank you for your update. Okay, so Prof, here we are. And well, just one point. At least Rutma was going to make that point. Even as it's still some time to 2:30 when voting is expected to vote, that polling unit we saw where they said they had concluded. If for any reason anyone who's accredited who should vote in that place turns up between this time, they can still cast their ballot.
No, they can't still cast their ballot. Right. Definitely.
So they have just concluded and finished in good time. Yeah. But Prof, let's go to you.
Yeah, I think it's from the Vox Pop that your reporters did. We have also been able to see the excitement, the enthusiasm from the average citizen. You know, this probably those who belong to the lower echelon, you know, the lower rung of the economic ladder. And of course, when it comes to politics, they became involved. You know, now what are they expecting? One of them is actually saying that he's expecting progress. You know, and you know how devastating it can be to their psychologists. You know, when these leaders get there and begin to do exactly the opposite. You know, forgetting that there are people that actually invested their hope in them ab initio. So, what more can we do other than to continue the admonition, you know, for good governance through the instrumentality of our leaders?
All right. Well, we have reports stating that the process has been smooth and orderly in other parts of Ondo State. There's a particular report from a Gedo unit in Okeagwe, where a correspondent is reporting that things have been moving smoothly and in an orderly fashion. So we'll bring you more of those reports as the day progresses. But as you heard, there's still time for those who are yet to cast their ballot. Let's go to Akure and again link up with analysts who are there. Prof, you've heard the people say all they want is progress. That's what they're looking forward to. As long as whoever gets in office does what they're supposed to do and the state progresses. That's what's basic for many of the voters. Do the political class, I always ask this question, do the political class appreciate this? Because many times it would seem as if the whole purpose is power capture.
Progress and peace, because there can't be progress without peace. That is why some of us so tenaciously we believe that there must be peace. And when you look at the perception of the people of Ondo State in recent time, they are hugely involved in agricultural production. Most especially the quantum of tomato there are people are planting in Ondo State now, and beans. You'll be surprised. So what people are trying to do now is that even though if you cannot assist me, let there be enabling environment for me to thrive. So that is why we don't compromise insecurity here. And that is why we believe that with smooth transition, definitely is going to erode progress and peace. Because we believe government alone cannot do it. And then there is no how intelligent you may be. If there is insecurity, definitely what you've accumulated for years can be destroyed in a day. So that is why we are appealing to our politicians, their utterances, even though their conduct. Like the lady that that spoke in Laramoke, she's full of, she believes that the government can turn around that situation for good. And that's supposed to be the thing. So if you cannot solve our problem, you must not add to our problem. So we are appealing to incoming government, anybody that emerge should know that is called to service. And they should reduce the cost of governance. It's only in this part of the world that I see people, you are driving a vehicle that worth 100 million, your driver is taking 70,000. All those things which we get, we must invest in people. We must invest in agriculture so that we can be self-reliant, so that we complement, and the agro industry must be around us. If people are producing tomato, there must be processing factory so that people will eat. Is when you eat that you can think of further technology. So I want to appeal to them. I want to appeal to our people. Even though if you are here to vote, you must go out and exercise your franchise so that we own the government together. Anybody that didn't perform, everybody cannot vote for you, but when majority are your support, if you are doing something negative, they can also call you to order. So that is why I so much believe that the hallmark of democracy is for peace and progress.
Well, your colleague there, who's next to you, Franklin, it's the same question I'd put across. Ondo State is acclaimed to have hundreds of thousands, of intellectuals, and with the resources, the natural resources available to the state, all the people want is for a system that would benefit them, that would be to their benefit, and for one who can steer the ship of state in such a manner. Again, as Prof. underscored the question of peace, noting that progress cannot take place in an atmosphere of rancor. And that's the wish of many who are going out there to participate in the exercise. Do the political class, do they appreciate this to the extent that this is what should drive their actions?
It's really, really important that the political class really understands what their role really is in driving peace and making the environment peaceful for development to take place. And so, you cannot lead people in isolation. What is the engagement plan for the government or the aspirants or the candidates now? In time of how do they actualize that engagement plan that they have activated or they have highlighted during their campaign? You must speak to people. They must see you as close to them for them to give, for you to understand what they need, how to meet their aspiration. From there, you gain trust. And that trust has been something that has not been there, and that's why you have this apathy and our canvassing for them to, to come, for people to come out and cast their votes. So peace, for me, is what can drive that development. If you are a peaceful person, you will not incite, you will not insulate things that can cause rancor and disrupt the whole process. People have said it. Those states are peaceful people. They are accommodating. They are loving. I don't see, but they do not take rubbish. And so sometimes you want to say they are stubborn. But that's just the way they are, and that's how God has made them. But our leaders sometimes they also play on the ignorance of people. But when Ondo State in the Ondo State region decide that enough is enough, they take their stand. And I hope politicians don't push citizens to the brink. But we have seen some palpable peaceful conduct on some part of the by politicians. They've preached during their engagement stakeholders meeting. They've said yes, peace will reign. They will not cause rancor. We have even civil society people that works with government in time of development agenda. We've seen that this state apart from Lagos and Ogun, remains one of the richest in the southwest. If you want to place us in time of what we have, we will be in the top notch. We have everything, oil, and so, but we've not had that management that can showcase our. So we hope that those that will be coming in will be able to translate the hidden wealth in this state to reality and for prosperity for the citizen. Now, if people are fed, if people are okay, nobody will go and fight now. When I'm okay, when I'm eating, will I want to go and cause wahala that will kill me or destroy my source of livelihood? But unfortunately, that analysis by politicians has always been weak, because what they want to do is to amass wealth and amass wealth for themselves. Now, our role, after we have engaged a governor now to work for us, is to continue to now be on the governor's neck to actualize his plan that will continue to give us peace. We will not let them rest. We will be going to their offices. We will be mobilizing people to engage them, so that if we are too docile as citizens, anything will go now. They will do anything to us. But when we are there at their neck and saying, "This is what you said you were going to do," we make sure that the budget of the state works and works for the people. These are some of the things that we are going to be proposing and ensuring that citizens' rights are protected. When citizens feel justice, when they feel that they have justice in whatever they are doing, there will be peace in the state. And that's one of our mandates, to ensure that going from this electoral process into conclusion, then we demand good governance and to enhance peaceful coexistence in the state.
Ondo, that's it in all parts of Nigeria, and this is what the electorate generally are looking forward to have a situation where the enabling environment can be created for development to take place. So what we are doing is taking Ondo as an example and using it as what should happen on the wider picture for the country, the nation in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a point that whatever happens in Ondo, or whatever is happening there, can easily be replicated in any other part of the country. And of course, if Ondo State does well, that template can be transported to other states as well. It's a critical state in the nation state called Nigeria. And what we are advocating, and will continue to advocate, like the previous speakers have said, is conscientious leadership. And of course, for leaders or those who have brought themselves forward to lead, not to shirk their responsibility at the level of commitment to the citizens, because what is the understanding? How do we understand leadership? Leadership is relationship or behavior that is centered towards improving the loss of others. Leadership is sacrificial. Leadership is not self-aggrandizement. It's considering the interest of others first, especially when public resources is at stake. Unfortunately, we have a system where people, leaders, are wont to prioritizing their own personal interests first, the interest of their family and family members and associates, and of course the interest of the community last. Whereas it is the community, the people's interests that should come first before their own interests, the interests of their family and friends, as the case could be. I think we need a bit of reordering in this reordering of the matrix. Substantial attitudinal change, and that can be demonstrated if we are either deliberate about the leaders that we choose, or maybe in the unlikely event that we're not deliberate, then of course maybe through happenstance, as the case could be.
All right, thank you so very much, Prof. And at this point, we'd like to thank you for being with us at the Ondo State Decides Studios. We started off this coverage with you. Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Bayes University, Abuja. Thank you for being part of
My pleasure.
And let me also thank Rotimi Oyeyikomi, Chief Press Secretary to the Chairman of INEC, for being here and giving us the insights into how the Election Management Authority is carrying out its mandate, particularly with regard to the election, the ongoing governorship election in Ondo State. Thank you. It's a pleasure seeing you again.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
Let me also thank our other guests and analysts who are in the Akure studio. We thank you for all your thoughts and contributions to this program. Professor Adedayo Afe, Department of History and International Studies at Adekunle Ajasin University, Akungba Akoko. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you too to Franklin Oloniju, the Chairman, Civil Society Organizations. Thank you for being part of this.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And in just a moment from now, I will be standing down as well, and I'll be introducing in just a moment Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak, who will be stepping in to continue with the presentations and being anchor of the various segments of this broadcast, which is the comprehensive coverage of the governorship election in Ondo State. Claire will be coming in at an appropriate time, because just before I step aside, we're going to bring you two reports that should speak to the whole issue surrounding this election in Ondo State. The first of them would be about women participation in politics in Ondo State, and the other will be about youth participation in elections. Those two reports will come back to back. We'll start off with the report on women's participation in politics in Ondo State, and as I step aside, we'll be bringing in a woman, because we have a high percentage of women's participation in the media. That's one gender-friendly industry that I know about. So in a short while, Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak will step in, and from me, Cyril Stover. I'll see you some other time.
The participation of women in politics is a crucial element in advancing women's empowerment. During election, women often turn out in significant numbers alongside their children to fulfill their civic duty by casting their ballots for their preferred candidates. Recent investigations indicate that the national average of women's political participation in Nigeria stands at 7.4%, encompassing both elective and appointive positions. For instance, in the National Assembly, women account for only 4.7% of the House of Representatives and 2.7% of the Senate. In Ondo State House of Assembly, women hold just 3 out of the 26 seats. The Center for Democracy and Development in a recent report identified several factors that hinder female political participation and representation, to include funding challenges, cultural and traditional beliefs, religious influences, and the existing party system and structures. Mrs. Nyinka Alabi, a grassroots politician and former commissioner in Ondo State, remarked that while women's participation in Ondo State politics has not been robust, there is a gradual emergence of women stepping forward to claim their rightful places.
In Ondo State, for me, it has not been so encouraging, but we thank God because the women are coming up. They are participating, but I believe that the women can participate more, and we can also deliberately give the women some chances to contribute to their own quota to the development of the state and the nation at large.
It is noteworthy that there is no female out of the 18 candidates vying for the governorship position in the state, nor any woman among the running mates. These respondents emphasize this development requires urgent attention.
So far, we are not there, but definitely we'll be there. So far, we are better than where we were. Women are now being, positioned to take their rightful place of pride in Ondo State, unlike in time past, where we have just privileged few.
Most of the women looked at politics as something that is not really for women. I would tell them to be themselves and embrace politics and be part of politics.
To elevate women's status in political spheres, respondents advocate increased involvement and support among women, both morally and financially, particularly at the state level, where their contributions can be most readily recognized. In Akure, Abiola Rio.
A lot of people are looking beyond quality representative. A lot of people are looking beyond capability. What so many people are looking into, especially those that are voting, is what can he offer us now? Because we don't care about what happens next, you see. So I think those are the little challenges that we experience, but I believe that it's getting better.
According to research, any nation aiming to reach its full potential must prioritize youth involvement in politics and governance to enhance the journey of nation building. Reports indicate that President Bola Tinubu's administration has demonstrated the highest level of youth inclusiveness in Nigeria's history, with evidence in the appointment of youths in key ministerial positions.
The youth in Ondo State are very much awake to their responsibilities and taking over government, taking over politics in Ondo State. Because they cannot be making decisions for our future, and we are not included in that decision-making committee. So presently now, we are so active.
A political analyst, Professor Adedayo Afe, encouraged youths to adhere to ethical standards and serve as role models for the next generation.
From 1979, during the Second Republic, youth in Ondo State, to the best of my knowledge, have been participating. But the only area that I think they should look into is the repositioning after the election, so that they can occupy space. They don't just have to see themselves as a casual politician. A casual politician is somebody that you mobilize during an election. After the election, you forget about them. You must play significant role that after the election, you must be rewarded. Occupying better position, not that SA or PA, no.
Stakeholders advocate entrusting youths with greater responsibilities, underscoring the belief that they are not the leaders of tomorrow, but of today.
Hello, legends don't just set the pace, they redefine excellence, inspire generations, and of course prove that greatness is a lifelong journey. And